your flesh and blood.
Welcome to Tell Me Your Story, new paradigms for a new world where we're giving you choices and knowledge of those choices to help make your dreams come true. We are here 9 times a week, Sundays at 7 a.m. and 7 p.m., Monday mornings at 1 a.m., Wednesdays at 9 a.m., and Monday through Friday from 8 to 9 a.m., streaming live at all those times at richarddugan.com. We are on SoundCloud, iTunes, TuneIn Radio, Spotify, Stitcher, Player FM, as well as YouTube, where you can watch these conversations. I hope that you will take time to subscribe and click notifications so that when a new conversation is posted, you'll be notified and you'll be able to tune in, listen in, and learn, be entertained and inspired. A reminder that Choices, which is my book, 5 Steps for Life, it's available on Amazon.com in paperback, hardcover, and Kindle with Audible, soon to be released. We also ask that if you can support the work that we are doing financially, we do have a PayPal account. It is there for your security as well as ours. And when they ask for an email address to whom you're sending, please go to richard@richarddugan.com. That's the email address. If you go to richarddugan.com, there is also a link directly to PayPal so that you can send us whatever support you can. And we thank you to those who have helped and to those who will help. We also ask that you take time during this decade of perfect vision, the 2020s, to go within to that quiet, peaceful, calm, still place and listen to that still, small voice. And with that, we now take you to our very special interview and guest here on Tell Me Your Story. And welcome to Tell Me Your Story. I'm Reverend Dr. D, and thank you so much for joining us on the program that gives you choices and knowledge of those choices to help make your dreams come true. Not sure if today's program is going to be a psychoanalytical perusal of yours truly by my guest, but she also has a book, and her name is Patricia Gordon Stevens. The book title, just so we can get this moving along here, is Madness in Memphis. And no, it has nothing to do with Elvis. Or I better rephrase that. It might. We'll find out, won't we? So stay tuned. Patricia, thank you. And thank you for joining us all the way from tomorrow. This is very cool. You're down there, down under in Australia. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you, Dr. D. It's wonderful to be here. It's lovely to meet you. And for those guests listening who are expecting an Australian accent, so sorry to disappoint you. Born and raised in Memphis, Tennessee. I've lived in this beautiful country. I have dual citizenship for 25 years in next month. 25 years next month.
Oh, wow.
So I tell everybody I moved down under. I live in Kapunda, not far from Tanunda and close to Udunda. And it's true. All of these regional areas have Aboriginal names, Indigenous names, and it is one of the most beautiful spots I've ever had the pleasure and privilege of living in.
Oh,
Thanks for having me.
I can't help but ask a question in regards to where you live and the Aborigines or the indigenous peoples of that country. How do the Australians, and I know again that the Aborigines are Australian, but I'm talking about the non-Aborigines, how do they view the indigenous people of Australia?
Oh, Dr. D, my goodness. That's a very, very rich question. I mean, I find them beautiful. They're some of the first inhabitants of this earth. They have so much knowledge. They're nomads. They live and travel. They used to live and travel with their families according to season and according to what would be available for good hunting. Their art is divine. Some of the Aboriginal indigenous art, I don't think, for some reason, and I don't know, I'm no expert, there's no way I can speak on this. I think we say indigenous and Aboriginal. I don't think we use the word Aborigines anymore at all. That's not considered politically correct.
No,
so I just wanted to share that with you.
Okay.
But they are some of the most amazing people on the planet. And then they do face, in many areas, huge discrimination. And just like the indigenous people of North America, refined flour and sugar and alcohol do not blend well and has created chaos and hell in many of these communities. So they're fighting an uphill battle They really want more recognition of how they've enhanced this country, and I'm behind that 100% of the way.
It's interesting because I met a Shumash Indian. I don't know that he was an elder per se, but he was a good friend nonetheless. I actually had him on this program a couple of times. One of the programs we did, we had these beach chairs. I had a digital recorder with and plugged in a couple of mics, and we actually sat right there beside the ocean having our chat about the Shumash and their medicine and their culture and so on and so forth. And it was just extraordinary. I'm curious, one other aspect before we dive into your book and the work that you do as well, and that is, have the indigenous been sequestered to reservations like the Native American Indians have been here in the United States?
They were, they have been. Some will say yes, they still are. They loved, these beautiful people love to live outdoors in the nature. And to take someone who's been a nomad and put them in a concrete living block is just, it's not conducive to their good mental health or physical health. And so I don't have all the dates. I don't have the proper history that I should have on these beautiful people. So forgive me for that. But
That's all right.
yes, yes. But there's so many more who are out there who are leaders, who have been university educated, who are setting examples for their people too, not only in the music and film industry and arts industry, but as professors and educators, and amazing things are happening. So I think they're just going to go from strength to strength. That's my hope.
Now, you living there, and you've lived there now, as you say, celebrating 25 years, quarter century. That's pretty darn
Yeah,
good.
yeah.
You live, however, I should preface this by saying that my wife and I just bought a house back in October that was built when I was 19 years old. I'm now 65, will be 66 this year. You live in a house that was built I think even before my grandparents were born. In the house you're in is 1860s. Please tell me it's made out of stone.
It is. Oh, Dr. D, it is. It is the smallest place I have ever lived in my life, but it is the happiest place I've ever been in. I'm so in love with my husband. I'm just madly in love with my very British husband, who's very posh.
Mm.
I think his family almost fell out when he brought his Memphis wife home to them. But anyway,
Oh,
my beautiful
wow.
husband Marcus is an artist, and he makes everything better with his hands. And
Mm.
he found this place. He did not want to live in the city. He did not want to live in Adelaide, which, by the way, this is a side note, but this is so interesting to me. When I first arrived to Adelaide permanently, having left the United States, the first thing I saw was a billboard, a giant billboard that said Memphis is Adelaide's sister city. And my heart almost popped out of my chest. I thought, this is destiny. This is the way it's supposed to be. This is beautiful. Anyway, my husband has turned this 1860s cottage into a little oasis. He built this she shed, which he refers to as corporate headquarters for my new company.
I love
He
that.
did. He did. He built it with his hands. The interior, of course, he had the outside structure built outside. Anyway, he's done so many things, and we've lived here happily, even though it's the smallest place I've ever lived. It's filled with lots of love, and it's just been an amazing journey. If I took you outside, you'd go, oh, hell, excuse my French. You'd go, I can't believe how much work you have left to do. So the point is, it's an ongoing process. There's a continuing journey of work to be done on this property, and I'm okay with that.
That's interesting because the house that we have purchased, if you will, and I jokingly say, well, actually, we in the bank own it, and we're working on an exchange over the next 20, 30 years. Um, but we live in a house up a mile high at
Oh,
5,700 square feet, 5,700 feet above sea level. That's over a mile. And what's interesting is I look at many of the other houses. This one has a unique profile to it. Most of the houses that are built up here are built into a hillside. Well, so is
Oh,
ours, except that the second floor has the front door coming out onto a deck. Then you have to step up 3 steps to the driveway, which is sort of a curved piece of concrete that gets
oh
you
my
up
God.
onto the road itself.
Oh
All
my
of the
God.
other houses, you may have a deck where you can park your car, but then you have to walk down some stairs or up some stairs to get to the entrance, and sometimes the entrance is around the side. And I noticed, because we just experienced snowfall here, our roof and its slope face north and south. And right now, they are virtually devoid of any of the snow that came down a week ago.
Oh, wow.
All of the other
Okay.
houses that are near us have sloped roofs that slope east west, and they
Got it.
still have snow on their roofs. It's just, I
You
don't
were
know.
fortunate. You're
Yeah.
very fortunate. And I suppose they're built into the cliffside for protection.
Well, in a manner of speaking, yes. And it's, to me, what's fascinating is my wife and I actually say it's a 3-story house. And it's 3 stories because the first story, of course, is 2 bedrooms and a bathroom, master bath and master bedroom, and a second bedroom, which is my studio where I'm at right now. The second floor is that main level with the living room, which is huge, and the kitchen and a second bedroom or third bedroom and a bathroom. And above that bedroom and bathroom and kitchen is a loft.
Oh,
And
wow.
we've set it up as a little sanctuary, a place where we can go up there, maybe light some incense and a candle and meditate or listen to some nice music or have a
Lovely.
conversation over a beverage or what have you. And of course, as the weather warms up, we're going to move out to the front deck and sit and enjoy the people walking by. Very friendly people. And it's wonderful. I would take it that you have had that similar kind of an experience as far as the people there in Australia when you moved there 25 years ago.
I moved here 25 years ago. My sister had already been living here. My
Hmm.
sister Constance, as a young girl, told
Hmm.
my mother she was going to move to Australia because they had the most bizarre and outrageous and unique creatures on the planet. And at one time, she wanted to be a vet. Long story short, she was the first person in our family to go to university. She received a degree in museology from the University of Knoxville. Constance moved to Australia first. And it just broke my mother's heart because it was so far away. I mean, this was a long time ago.
Yeah.
Um, and and in 2000, remember the millennium? Remember when the world was going to change? The computers were going to stop working. We weren't ever going to use paper again. You know,
Hmm.
it was a wild time. I was with a partner in Georgia, and we wanted to invite my mother, fly her in to this great big do at the country club, big celebration, ice sculpture, live music. And my mother said, "Well, my love, I'm going to be in Australia for 60 days. I'm so sorry. I'm going to be with your sister Constance." And it really broke my heart. It irked me. I was so jealous. I am admitting that. Constance was 5 years older. She skipped her junior year in high school because she was so bloody smart. She was winning art awards at the age of 12. She was so intimidating. She named me George. My mother brought me home from the hospital to introduce me to Constance. And she said, "No, you brought the wrong kind home. You have to take her back to the hospital." And my mother said, "She's not going back." And Constance said, "Well, her name is George." So I've been George my entire life. And in any event, oh, when my mother was here visiting, the one morning, my mother did not go out running errands with my sister. She was killed on the main road to Gawler, which is the big town up from us. And the reason I'm telling you this is because my mother lost her own mother when she was 8.5 years old in the same exact type of car accident. The car overturned, it flipped. My sister was ejected from the car and her esophagus was crushed and she died instantly. And my mother's name was Georgiana. And my mother's great my mother's paternal grandfather, was named George. So George has always been a big name in our life. In any event, um, I came out to meet my mother 48 hours after I learned of my sister's death. And there was this wild, bronze-skinned, wiry-haired, strange English individual making my mother copious amounts of tea and very silent in the background. Mm. And that man is my now husband, Marcus. So that's how we met, out of great, great tragedy. It's just such a sad story, but it's so beautiful. And then I'm going to say this quickly. I'm going to say this quickly just to get out a lot of grief so I won't be crying all over your screen. Okay. 2 months, 2 months and 1 day after my only sibling, my only sister, and Dr. D, my mother and father were only children. So I didn't have aunts or uncles or cousins. I didn't know what a family reunion was. So it was very significant to when my sister died. But 2 months and 1 day later, my youngest child, my second born child, my only son, first male born in 4 generations of my family, opted out on life. He took his own life. So within 2 months and 1 day, my family went down to 3 people. And it was the most, I am not the only person who's experienced grief, but I have to tell you, it was devastating, and my mother never, ever, ever got over it. So everything has come full circle. My life is full and rich now. And yes, you do learn how to manage grief. You learn how to go forward because you have people that are depending on you, and you must go forward. So I've learned how to do all of that. And that's why, for many, many reasons, that's one of the reasons I became a counselor too. So that's it in a nutshell. Great grief, but there's a lot of love in our home, and there's a lot of joy post some very tragic losses.
Well, we're going to continue talking with Patricia Gordon Stevens here on the program. Tell Me Your Story, New Paradigms for a New World, where we're giving you choices and knowledge of those choices to help make your dreams come true. You stay right where you are. This is Tell Me Your Story. I am Reverend Dr. D, and she is Patricia Gordon Stevens, and she has a book we're going to talk a little bit about as well, and it is Madness in Memphis. I don't know if it would ever be made into a made-for-TV movie or a big screen production. All I know is that it talks about some things that people are facing. And I'll tell you, I don't know if you were even getting this story there in Australia or not, but this one woman, this mother of a talk show host on our local network here in the States, NBC, who has been missing for I don't know how many weeks now. And it's like, obviously, every time they find something, it's like every time they find an answer to something or even a sliver of something, it raises more questions. Yet your book, Madness in Memphis, explores the reality of living with domestic violence, as well as challenges many women face when they attempt to, and this is a sad word to have to use, when they attempt to escape. There is some truth to that. I have to tell you that when I was in my 20s, before I met my first wife, the women that I would meet were damaged in certain ways where I started to become ashamed of being a man, because I was a member of
Dr.
that
D.
side of the species that was doing this. Now, I have 4 sisters. One of them has passed, 2 older, 2 younger, and a brother, a younger brother. And I learned from my father in particular, who has also since passed, that you do not treat a woman any differently than you would treat another man, in that you treat them kindly, you treat them with respect, and you let them self-determine and so forth. But unfortunately, and I keep thinking about this, how is it that we're in the 21st century and we still have men in particular, but I also know domestic violence can be perpetrated by women as well. We call them kindly, we call them usually Karens. Ken, I believe, is the male version. But anyway, let me ask you, is any of what you have written in Madness in Memphis, which is, I'm sure, available on Amazon,
Yes.
having to do with anything that has happened in your own life personally, as far as relationships, or do you primarily draw from, no names obviously, the counseling that you've been doing with people who have unfortunately suffered through domestic violence?
Oh, excellent observation. And it's a combination of both, Dr. D. Yes, this is loosely based on a very negative, destructive, and short lived marriage I experienced. The man to whom I was married is now deceased. He was diagnosed with bipolar and severe personality disorder. It is an experience my children and I will never forget.
Mm.
And having gone through my master's of counseling, studied for that, being placed in professional field placement, and having my own clients, I thought what I went through was pretty horrific. But I have listened to the stories of many I've had the privilege and honor, where some women have stated to me domestic violence in their day was the same as preparing a family meal. They knew it was going to happen. They
Mm.
knew it was going to be scheduled in. They just didn't know. Was it morning breakfast? Was the coffee bad? Was the meal not the way it was supposed to be? Did he come home from work especially grumpy? You never, ever, ever knew. And so this book is not a memoir, but it is to share with the world the experiences that 1 in 4 women are going through in Australia, some of the wealthiest countries in the world, Australia, the United Kingdom, and the United States. And if you check the American Psychiatry Association's website, I believe it's been updated in America to 1 in 3.
Mm.
So this is not acceptable. And I could have easily written a work of nonfiction, especially after 5 years of study. I could have fed you all the statistics you want, and you're right. Of course, there is female on male violence, but it has not reached the level, the stats of male on female violence. And my book is about male on female violence, to be clear. Yes, females can be monsters too. We are all fully aware of that.
I'm curious about your perspective on past lives, in that there are those who believe that we have shared, we'll call them relationships. They might be deep and they might be superficial, but nonetheless, with most of the people that are in our lives today. And the roles might be reversed. I might have been my mother's mother in a previous life, or my father's father, or what have you, and on and on and on. And some believe that we bring from those other lives some of this stuff, the what we call karma. And I'm wondering, not to make excuses for anybody, because we are always ultimately 100% responsible for the actions in our lives. But I am curious as to your perspective. If an individual has never really, who's sitting there in the chair or laying on the couch or what have you, however you do your practice, um, has never really experienced any of this in, say, their lifetime, and haven't blocked it, but for whatever reason, they have maybe this fear or this concern over those kinds of attributes popping up and out of them, because maybe they haven't released a lot of stuff going on in their lives, and it sometimes can come out as an explosion, because we don't emote, we don't let it go. Is there any connection as far as you are concerned, or is that not an area that you go into?
Dr. D, there are a lot of questions in there. In that whole paragraph, there are a lot of questions you just posed to me.
Yeah,
So
I have a habit of
let
doing that. I need
so let,
therapy, is what I need.
you're fabulous. Let me just say that I've read a course about past lives. Of course, I know about that. And I know many people believe in that. And sometimes you have that deja vu experience, that feeling where you've been someplace before. Um, and maybe we are being subjected to some things because we need to learn lessons. But
Hmm.
to cut to the chase, children observed behaviors.
Yeah.
Children, little children, grow up watching mom, dad interact, respond, and react to one another. Now, if dad is consistently, continuously, and vice versa, putting mother down, if she's whacking her, if he feels inferior, if something has frustrated him, he does not know how to communicate those big emotions he's feeling, just like children, he explodes, and all of this violent, vile stuff happens. That child sees that, and that's how that child learns to respond to his or her emotions. And then one day that little boy, that little girl grows up and goes to another neighborhood friend's house. And he sees a mother and father cooking, having a barbecue. Mom's making dad a drink. Dad's coming over, giving mom a kiss. They're doing things together. They set the table together. All the families at the table sitting, laughing. It's a beautiful scene, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that child returns home in shock and disbelief. That's not how my family operates. I've never seen that before.
Yeah.
And then that's great. They can start viewing the outside world. Their views may change, but all of these behaviors are entrenched since day one, since the baby was a toddler. And sometimes, yes, of course, there's attachment issues. All parents are busy. All parents don't necessarily pay attention to every single cry when the child cries, but there could be that specific time when a child really needed to be held and to know that everything was okay that we missed. Now, that could be any and every parent on the planet, but all of these things start early. And nobody wants to deal with the long fixes. Everybody wants a short-term quick fix for everything, not just domestic violence, for everything. It starts early. It starts in the home. It starts with education. We have to start young to get this change. And if you're not calling out your male friends on behavior, if you're not calling out how they talk to people, how they act to people, how they treat women, how they touch women, then how do you go home and live with yourself at night? How do you go home and say, I didn't say anything, especially if you witness something in the workplace too? Not just males, women. We all need to pay attention to it and call it out. It's not funny. It was never funny. It's not funny.
We're talking with Patricia Gordon Stevens. PatriciaGordonStevens.com is the website. The book is Madness in Memphis, and this is Tell Me Your Story. I'm Reverend Dr. D, and we're here talking with Patricia Gordon Stevens about not only her book, which is available through Amazon and other outlets, I'm sure, as Madness in Memphis. And I always like to come up to this question: is it yet available in Audible?
Yes.
Oh, wonderful. Wonderful.
Yes.
And did you read it, or did they get a
Oh, my God, don't get me started. There's a new program out there where you can read 2 or 3 pages, I believe, of your book. And then it turns your voice into the entire book. And Dr. D, I have to tell you that when my husband and I listened to the book, our eyebrows went over our head because he goes, "Oh, my love," in his British accent, of course. It's you. But it's not you. It's an alien you. So, but it's great, especially for my Australian mates, because we drive great distances. Oh, sometimes we have an hour. Anyway, we drive a lot, huge distances. So it's really, really good to be able to listen to it during your drive time.
Yeah.
And
always remember, folks, that you think that you are listening, but you're reading. You are. As a kid growing up, being legally blind, I was listening to talking books for the blind and recordings for the blind. One was for text books for school, and the other one is recreational. And I read a lot. Matter of fact, that's how I came to know my metaphysical primer, Autobiography of a Yogi. I want to ask you, first of all, you say you drive a lot. Do you primarily drive along the coast, if you will, at least within maybe 100 miles or so along the coast? Or do you go into the interior and across to other cities? I'm wondering, because again, I don't know what the freeway system is like there, because to me, technically speaking, it's an island, but it's one big island.
Yes, it's one big island, and we all mostly live on the exterior due to water issues. Also, I'm in a regional area. I'm in wine, wool, and wheat country, and so if you go to Victoria, where Melbourne is located, there's the Great Ocean Road that most people travel on because it's just a beautiful scenic site.
I'll bet.
Um, but I'm in regional country, and I've had the privilege and the pleasure of my husband taking me to the outback with swags, where we sleep underneath the stars, and the stars are so brilliant, so huge that you feel like you can pluck them out of the sky. And the
Mm.
constellations are different here. I get to see different constellations from what I viewed in America, and the emus are running by, and it's just completely, it's what you read about in the books. But I don't have a coastal drive. I can go down to Glenelg, I can go
Mhm.
down to Semaphore, and there's a beautiful ocean there. But I live in between paddocks and farmers and wine, wool, and wheat.
Oh wow, it's. I tell you, I grew up in Phoenix, Arizona, in the '60s and '70s, and it wasn't bad. I mean, because it wasn't that built up back then. It started to grow like crazy in the '80s and '90s, and I was still living in the metropolitan area. Then my second wife and I, moved to Santa Barbara, California, but we were living up above Santa Barbara in the mountains,
Oh,
and it was actually in Los Padres National Forest. So we had
wow.
wonderful wildlife. I kid you not. We had a flock of turkeys that would come around the house and we'd feed them. We had at one time we had a bear that showed up and was playing
Mm.
around in one of the pools that they had up above us. We've had blue jays that would actually land on your finger. They would rest there and take a
Aw.
peanut from you. We had chickens and a peahen that we got eggs from and so forth, along with what we kept in the house were dogs and cats. We had a tortoise and a blue-tongued skink, which I always referred to as a snake with legs. And
We have one of those. We have a blue tongue lizard that lives underneath Maxwell House,
oh,
and it's
really?
bizarre looking. Yes,
Very
yes.
cool. Well, now that we live here in Twin Peaks, we only have three cats. They're
Oh,
siblings.
oh,
And we came upon these black cats at an adoption center back in Santa Barbara, and we got them. I think it was actually Christmas Eve 2 years ago.
oh.
Actually, a year ago, Christmas Eve, and they made the transition well. And I tell you what, moving from a roughly 1,000 square foot cottage where we were living in Santa Barbara to a 1,430 square foot, ostensibly three-story house, it sounds like cattle racing through the house when they get going. It is wonderful, and animals are such an integral part of life, just in general. In my opinion, I would highly recommend, even if you just have a fish. Okay, I could tell you a story about how attached we got to an angelfish, and how we wanted my wife and I are both Reiki masters, and so we tried to revive it with the energy, and we actually did for a short time. But when we finally lost it, we were both in tears. I mean, it was like someone would say, "It's a fish. What is the big deal?" And well, yeah, and so forth. But it's quite remarkable. I want to ask you about madness in Memphis, but I'm going to ask you that as soon as I tell you who are watching and listening that this is Tell Me Your Story, New Paradigms for a New World, where we are giving you choices and knowledge of those choices to help make your dreams come true. I am curious, Patricia Gordon Stevens, how you started out to even come up with the idea for madness in Memphis. Obviously, the main, I don't want to say necessarily character, but the attributes therein of domestic violence and so forth have always been with man since we've been here. All you have to do is go back to Cain and Abel. That was not a good scene. Um, but in terms of your desire to put together a work of fiction such as this, which is probably more fact than fiction, only because it's more true than it is anything else. But the characters obviously are fictional characters. What set you off?
My university studies. going through psychological science, sociology, and then a burning desire to continue and take my master's of counseling, learning about all specific psychological disorders and mental health conditions.
And by the way,
Brought
which you just graduated from too, just recently.
yeah, 24,
Yeah,
2024.
congratulations. A couple of years
Thank
ago.
you.
Yeah.
Mature age students. They rock. There's more of us than you know. I was not the oldest one, just to let you know. Anyway, oh my goodness, it brought back floods of memories, very real and valid memories that I knew that I hadn't dealt with properly. So then I needed to get some things down on paper. I write very, very quickly. I write probably 7,000 to 9,000 words a day. And this was stuff that had to come out. And my husband kept bringing me pages back saying, tell me more, tell me more. I want to know what happens to Morgan Sage. What happens next? Patricia, my love, what happens next? Give me more pages. And so it was just this manic phase. And I kept hearing crescendos. I kept hearing music. I used to play in the band in high school. And that let me know I was in the right direction. But the whole purpose, the main purpose for writing this book is to allow the reader to come into the world and to feel what it is like for a woman to experience a stalker, domestic violence, and then trying to protect her children, protect her safety while fleeing a monster. Just because or when a woman escapes, as you used that word in the beginning, that's when all the violence escalates. It increases. He has invested a lot of time, energy, and effort into you, into this woman, into this person. And he doesn't want to let go, and he's not going to. So you have to have a tribe, call it a circle of support, a tribe, doesn't matter. Please don't go it alone. Please reach out for help and know that you will be able to make it on the other side with the right support. You will find joy and peace again. You will learn to trust again. It's going to be baby steps, but that's good. Bring the people back into your life, into your fold that maybe you've been prohibited from seeing, because domestic violence is not simply about hitting a woman and she repairs herself and presents herself to the public with foundation and good makeup. It's about so much more than that.
Now, in addition to March being a colorectal cancer awareness month, St. Patrick's Day, my anniversary, the anniversaries of my father and sister's passing, it is also, at least here in the States, maybe it's globally, it is also um, Women's Awareness Month, something along those lines. Am I correct in that?
Yes, I've been seeing lots of things on LinkedIn. I like LinkedIn, the professional space, about Women's International Day. So
Thank
yes,
you.
it seems to me it's going to be an international event.
An
Yes.
international event, which is great, as opposed to just national. Um, what is it that you think, as a woman, the awareness at this time, here we are, we're heading into the late 2020s, that we, the citizenry of the respective countries internationally, should be aware of during this particular month, that again is the International Women's Awareness Month.
What should the citizens of the world be aware
Yeah,
of during
what should we be
International Women's
focused
Month?
on? Should our attention be on when it comes to, is there a particular women's issue that we might want to be thinking about and supporting in that regard?
Well, I would still say respect.
Hmm.
I would still say appreciation, respect, kindness, taking women seriously, checking in on other women who may be in relationships whom you have not heard from for such a long time. I'm being aware, being vigilant how women and other females are being treated publicly, privately, as much as you can. I mean, there are a lot of warning signs, and I am not saying all women need to be protected, but I'm saying all people need to be respected. So there are a lot of warning signs that people can look out for, but I think if you're talking specifically about this month,
Hmm.
equal respect, kindness, being vigilant, being aware, acknowledging acknowledging what some of these fine women in your community, in your neighborhoods, in your organizations have contributed. Let's look at the history. Let's go back right now today. You Google it, everybody Google it, and find out how many women were erased from all the attributions and contributions they made to many different industries. They just, a lot of their work was stolen by academics, by men.
Yeah.
So we've been trying to catch up for a long, long time.
It's often been said too, I've heard, that the goal, for example, in the United States of the women's movement, this goes back to the late 60s and into the 70s with the ERA movement. This is not about women wanting to take over. It's about women wanting to share equally in the process. And that's a big difference from, I mean, because it's one of the things that is so perplexing to me that one of the countries that I have an affinity for, my wife and I have both been there twice back. Oh my Lord, it's been 22 to 24 years since we've been there, Ireland. And they've already had at least two female presidents. And India has had one. Other countries around the world have had female presidents or leaders. And I sit here going, what is our problem? We've been here for 250 years and we can't seem to get over that hump. But then there was one other aspect too, when Barack Obama was elected, and the first statement one of the commentators made, and this was his first election. Well, of course, he is our very first black president. And I remember somebody saying to me, what he said shows we have not come very far at all because we're still making that differentiation. If Kamala Harris would have been elected, we would be saying our first woman president. Well, yes, okay, that's true. Oh, okay, don't get me wrong. That is true. It's factual. But it's like, but this is just another person who's chosen to run for this office to hopefully serve, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, instead of that little additive at the beginning, and I guess that's always going to be the case. They say that Kennedy, for example, he was our first Catholic president. Well, what difference does that make? I mean, really? So I'm just wondering about that aspect too, and it's perplexing. I don't know if this is true in Australia and other parts of the world. There's just the disparity in terms of income, like it is here in the U.S.
Well, I mean, that's just common sense. If a female does the same job as a male, there needs to be equal pay. Yeah. Why aren't there more female CEOs? Because they've been managing families, managing their husbands, managing households for centuries. Why not? I don't think, in my own opinion, I don't think it's about females wanting to take over the world. Maybe so. I'm sure there's some hardcore feminists out there that believe that. I do believe women, females, some can be the most excellent leaders, not just because they're nurturers. Not all women are nurturers, but because they have compassion and empathy, and they have the foresight to see the other side and to listen. It takes active listening, not telling people what to think and what they're going to do. You have to listen. And I want to disagree with you. Okay. After 5 years, long 5 years of university study, everything that I've read and I've been taught and conversing with my Black colleagues, they absolutely want their color to be noted. They absolutely, when you say, I don't see color, I'm such a good person, I don't see color, we're all the same. Yes, we all are the same on the inside, but that color, that difference has made such a difference, such a real impact in how Black people have been treated since day one, that their color is significant. And I think it's okay to say the first Catholic president. I think it's more than okay to say the first Black female president when it happens. It's all okay because it's a part of who we are. Whatever individual is holding that position, that's okay. It's not demeaning. Everything I've learned, I used to say that, and I had a professor who called me out. She called me at home, as a matter of fact, and said, "No, George, no. These people are extremely proud to be Black, and you have to note their color, or you're not seeing them as a whole person if you don't do that. I cannot speak for Black people. I can only speak for myself, but I think out of respect, this is what I've learned, and it should be noted.
Well, it gives a different meaning to a saying that I came up with many, many years ago. If there is a difference that makes a difference, then there is a difference. However, if there is a difference that makes no difference, there is no difference. And the reason I say it puts a different hue on it, if you will, pardon the pun, is that um, if that particular group of people with that particular, I'll refer to it as an attribute, okay, that they have no control over it, okay, any more than I had any control over the issue of sight, okay. If that's their perspective, then I will honor that. I will respect that, and so forth. And maybe one day it could take 100 years, another 150 or 200 years before we get to that place where, yes, I see the color of your skin, but that doesn't make any difference to me. It's like my best friend. My best friend came out to me shortly after we graduated from high school. And I said to him, I said, what do you want me to do with that? You're still my best friend. It doesn't matter to me. I mean, in the sense that it doesn't change how I feel about you as a friend, as my best friend. And we were best friends for 53 years until he passed away. So that's kind of where I'm coming from the standpoint that I'm hoping someday, yes, I see that you're white, I see that you're black or Hispanic or whatever the nationality is, but it doesn't
Or
change,
Catholic or Presbyterian
or whatever the philosophy is. You're absolutely
or
right. Or
homosexual,
political
not
or,
homosexual. I get
or
it.
economic. Yeah. Or sexual
But
orientation.
but Dr. D, you and I have never been forbidden a seat on a bus.
That's true. That
We
is
have
true.
never had our ancestors above us sold into slavery and sold like they were cattle.
Yeah,
That has never happened to us. That is not part of our DNA.
that's true. That is true.
We
And
have
so,
we have lived a very privileged history.
yeah. I think too that's one of the other things too when you brought up a concept of the aspect of history. I was talking with someone just the other day about this whole business here in the states of um, what is it, radical, I want to say radical race theory or something along those lines. And I was actually talking with a teacher about this, if that was, if the kids are actually really being taught to hate America. And she says no. And if there's a teacher that's doing that, then they would be fired immediately. And I actually think it should be renamed. Uh, it should be renamed that we are teaching the good, the bad, and the ugly of the history, in this case,
Yes,
of the United States. Tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the
and nothing but the
truth,
truth.
and then let the students decide where they sit and where they want to be. But it is not about making people, forcing people, or coercing them to hate anything. Uh, when I was
Well,
in
Dr.
school,
D, it doesn't look as though we're learning very well from history.
no,
It doesn't
unfortunately, no.
doesn't look as though anybody's even read a history book in
Yeah.
the administration.
Well,
So,
in our administration, that is true. I learned in school in 1492, Columbus sailed the ocean blue, and so on and so on and so on. In 1992, I was working for a Christian radio station at the time, and I heard three different versions of the history of Christopher Columbus. One was he was a saint, one was he was the devil, and the other was somewhere in the middle. And I kind of went with the part in the middle because it sort of incorporated a little bit of both of the extremes. And my biggest problem with what I hear these days about history is where are we getting the information from? Who are we getting the information from? Is it primary source information?
certainly
And
not peer reviewed.
and how are we using it? And how are we using it? Are we using it to better understand where we've come from as a people, let alone as a country? And if other countries, if other nations around the world are dealing with these same perplexities, when it comes to their citizenry and in terms of understanding. Because I remember hearing stories of Germans in the last 3, 4, 5 decades, following way beyond World War II, who are actually, in some instances, ashamed of being German. And it's their ancestors who may or may not have had anything to do with it. They had nothing to do with it other than being born German. You know, I wouldn't hold
It's
that
still
against a
a
German.
despicable, horrific history. You're right. You're not going to hold that against a German today, but it's still,
Sure.
again, part of the DNA, part of the history of
Yeah.
those people. And then we go back to domestic violence, and with all these world issues, I
Hmm.
weep for Ukraine. Putin has the biggest landmass, the biggest country on Mother Earth, yet he still wants more.
He wants
It's
more.
not enough. When is it enough? We used to think millions were a huge amount, and then it was billions, and now
Yeah.
people are aspiring for trillions. It's never enough.
Yeah. I
So
want.
trying to squeeze in a space for domestic violence and to acknowledge that it still exists when it's completely, it could be completely erased by this
Yeah.
decade, by this, it hasn't been.
Yeah.
It's
I.
worse in some ways.
Yeah.
Christmas brings it out. St. Patty's Day is going to bring it out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Valentine's Day brings it out because expectations were violated. All of this
I have
is
that, I've said I've had this strong affinity towards Ireland, and the one thing I love about the citizens of Ireland over the history of that country, which goes back thousands of years, is the fact that there have been civilizations that have gone in and tried to subjugate them and haven't succeeded yet. And so it's like, okay, they've got this stick to itiveness aspect, this very independent streak that may be green, white, or orange. Speaking of which, I just put up our Irish flag out in front of our house. Um,
okay.
but every country has this pride, if you will, of the nation, but it doesn't exclude the diversity, if you will, if I can be allowed to use that word, to say, look, it is our differences that make us so strong and powerful and unique as a society and a civilization. um, and then even as individuals, you and I, we're totally different people, and yet we have this goal that we would love to see. um, to coin the
Peace.
title of one of my other
I know.
guests that I just recently had on, um, uh, uh, his book is entitled "Outrageous Peace." And he has this method that he's created to help people to work to that aspect of outrageous peace. It's not something that you stay in all the time, because nobody stays happy all the time, but that allows you to find it more often than not. And that's kind of what we're looking for. And when it comes to your conversation coming from Madness in Memphis, the book that is available at Amazon and through your website. Patricia, I've already forgotten your middle, Gordon, Patricia Gordon Stevens, thank you.com. Please get a copy, folks. I hope that you will. It's what we're trying to do here is we're trying to change the world. Which I was told as a kid, don't ever even utter those words because it's too big. It's just too big. And it's like, well, I'm now 66. Or 65. I don't care. If it is too big, then do it in bite size, as they say. How do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. And there you go. And that's what you're trying to do too. You're trying to show that there is another way that we can choose. My book, Choices: 5 Steps for Life, is all about that. Making choices. We are.
Nothing's too
That's
big.
that's what it's all about. Is making choices.
No,
We do it all the
yeah,
time. Yeah.
nothing's too big.
Yeah.
We are accountable for our actions, and we are ultimately accountable for all of our choices too.
Yeah. And you chose to write this book, and I'm so glad
I
that you
did.
did. I really am. I'm excited about the level of passion that you have for your life and living and where you live and who you live with and what you are doing. And I hope that that spreads to our listeners and viewers here on this program, to get out there and do something, as I often say, do something with the life that you have been given. You are not a puppet on a string being manipulated by forces you do not understand. What do you understand about the force, if you will, the power that is out there, but also in here that you tap into on a regular basis to do the things that you do? What's your philosophy?
What's my philosophy about that force? Well, I believe in something much larger than all of us, much larger than planet Earth. I believe in Mother Nature. I believe that there is a spirit out there that could unite all of us and everybody's working against it. I sometimes I can't tap into the most positive and the places that propel me forward. Sometimes I can't. And I don't know why I can't. But then there are days when everything just comes so naturally and occurs. And if you sit and listen to that, that's when I believe that's the bigger force working outside. And it's there, but you have to learn how to pay attention and listen to it on a more frequent basis because it makes your life better and richer.
And so you would put a high priority on listening to your intuition, that still small voice inside?
Always and every day, gut instincts. My gut instinct told me not to enter the marriage I entered. I refused to believe it or listen to it because I knew that I could help. I knew I could fix. I knew I could be there to make things better. Gut instincts are there for a purpose. Our body, our minds are completely, inextricably connected.
Mhm.
If one is suffering, if your body's suffering, your mental health is going to suffer. If your mental health is not in great shape or poor condition, more than likely your health is going to suffer too.
Mm. Do you have another book inside that's waiting to come out?
I have about three or four, yes. But when do I get the time? Now it's a matter of learning how to be a better time manager. Thanks, Doctor. Thanks for asking. It's true. I need, and we all have the same amount of hours in the day. I'm
Mhm.
not special. I'm not different. I just need to manage my time better, more appropriately.
I know the feeling. I really do. My book, Choices, which is a very small little tome, um, actually rose up from my second wife's cancer diagnosis. And as she
Oh,
was being rolled into the operating room, I asked her, I says, "Do you want to live or do you want to die? I may not like your choice, but I will support you in it, whatever it is." And of course, she is alive to this day, free and clear. Matter of fact, she just had a blood workup that came out completely spanking free. And that was, now you're talking about 20, 26, 25 years ago. But choices, I tell people all the time that, you are, and I love sharing this. You, as a little girl, you made some choices. I, as a little boy, made some choices. Now, this may sound very strange, hard to wrap your brain around, but those choices you made and I made as children have brought us right here today. And it's like, those, they set up the dominoes and then they knock one down and then it goes around and up and down and all that kind of stuff, which I love watching those videos of the dominoes falling. But that's really what it's all about is we make a choice that leads us to the next one and the next one and the next one, and you just never know. And here we are talking to each
and here we
other,
are
how many thousands of miles apart and hemispheres apart?
across the Pacific.
Yeah, incredible. Absolutely incredible. I want to thank you. And I hope that when you do write your next book, yes, you say you have three, but let's work on the next one. I'd love to have you back on the program to talk more about the work that you are doing and the things that you and your husband are working to bring about there in Australia, your what is now your home country, if you will.
Yes.
And I would really appreciate staying in touch.
Oh, Dr. D, you're just a gem. Thank you for having me. It was a beautiful opportunity, and I appreciate you.
Well, thank you. I do have three final questions I ask all of my guests. And
Oh,
by the way, I was on AI this morning having that conversation about that very thing. It's like, okay, I'd like to get a hold of a transcribing application so that I can transcribe the last 5 or 10 minutes of each interview. And there are I don't, could be over 1,000 these days. I mean, I've been doing this so long, where I ask these three questions. I'll ask those, but first, thank you for listening to and watching Tell Me Your Story, New Paradigms for a New World, where we're giving you choices and knowledge of those choices to help make your dreams come true. Sundays at 7 a.m. and 7 p.m., Monday mornings at 1 a.m., Wednesdays at 9 a.m. for our special edition with Lumari of Lumari.com. And then Monday through Friday from 8 to 9 a.m. with a special program on Wednesdays. It's called The Body of Health with Dennis Henson. All of those 9 programs you can hear via richarddugan.com. We have a link there that you can listen to the stream live at those 9 times. We're also podcasting on SoundCloud, iTunes, TuneIn Radio, Spotify, Stitcher, Player FM, Blueberry, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music. We're on YouTube and Rumble. We've expanded our video outreach to Rumble, so we hope that you will subscribe as well as click notification. We also ask that if you can help to support us financially in some way, we refer to it as a tip. Our tip jar is called PayPal. And if you go to richarddugan.com, there is a link to Amazon to purchase your copy of Choices, 5 Steps for Life, that's available in hardcover, paperback, as well as Kindle. There's also a link there to our tip jar, which is PayPal. We also ask that you take time during this decade of perfect vision, the 2020s, to spend time going within to that quiet, peaceful, calm, still place and listen to that still small voice and follow the promptings as well. With all that being said, we now move to our final 3 questions for our very special guest. And the first of those is, who is Patricia Gordon Stevens?
A woman with a big heart who's learned a great deal and can finally, genuinely listen.
What gets you up in the morning?
Oh. My husband, my life, my children, my world, Kapunda down under, my family.
And finally, movie reference. Mitch is riding with his 2 buddies out in the desert, and he asks them this question: what was your best day?
There's too many. Dr. D, 3 came up. There's too many. I'm grateful for every single day after. I feel like I'm a survivor too. I feel like I've made a choice to go forward when I could have fallen in a heap. Mm-hmm. So can I please just say every day, because I mean that sincerely.
Absolutely. It's your answer to the question. And thank you again for joining us here on the program. I look forward to staying in touch with you. And I'll let our listeners know that this interview, like all of them, the more challenging it is to make them happen, the better they will be. And I'd like to think that this one is pretty darn good. Pretty darn good. Thank you again for joining us. Thank you, folks, for joining us here on Tell Me Your Story, New Paradigms for a New World. And until our next broadcast, podcast, videocast, love to Lal. Jeanette, I'm still listening. Dad, continue to be happy because I am. Smokey, I'll see you on the other side. Mike, thanks for being in my life and letting me be in yours. And to my dear friend Zorro, aho, aho.